For today's lesson, we're going to take a look at square roots and the existence of square roots. So this is SOL 8.3 and SOL 7.1D, Module 2, Lessons 4 and 5. All right, so SOL 8.3, the student will estimate and determine two consecutive integers between which a square root lies, and determine both the positive and negative square roots of a given perfect square. For 7.1D, determine the square root of perfect squares. The learning target for this lesson, I can approximate the location of square roots of whole numbers on the number line. Key vocabulary: consecutive integers, one we've seen before, square roots, perfect squares, whole number, integer, and number line. All right, so the first part we're going to look at is square roots and perfect squares. All right, so looking at some square root vocabulary. So we have a perfect square. I'm just going to abbreviate square with SQ, is a whole number whose square root is an integer. The square root of a given number is the number that, when multiplied by itself, equals the given number. Every positive number has a positive, so I'm just going to put plus, and negative square root. So this is for negative, and this is for positive. All right, so if we look at square root of 36, we know the positive square root is 6. The negative square root is negative 6. So the positive and negative square root are 6 and negative 6. All right, this also works if we throw in another example. Say, for example, 49. So the positive square root is going to be 7, and the negative square root is going to be negative 7. All right, so let's look at those squares, square roots and perfect squares. So you probably remember this from previous math classes. We're just going to go ahead and take a look at that. Think about the area of a square. When we talk about the area of a square, it's side squared. So we know that this is our perfect square. And this is going to be our square root. So for example, if we have a square that is 36, we know that the square root is going to be 6. All right, so let's look at those perfect squares from 1 to 400. So we know that the square root of 1, the positive and negative, is 1 and negative 1. For 4, we have 2 and negative 2. For 9, 3 and negative 3, because we're looking at the positive and the negative. For 16, we have 4 and negative 4. For 25, we have 5 and negative 5. 36, we have 6 and negative 6. For 49, 7 and negative 7. For 8, we have 8 and negative 8. Square root of 81 is 9. The negative square root would be negative 9. For 100, we have 10 and negative 10. All right, for 121, we have 11 and negative 11. 144, 12 and negative 12. 169, 13 and negative 13. 196, 14 and negative 14. 225, 15 and negative 15. We have 16 and negative 16. 17 and negative 17, 18 and negative 18, 19 and negative 19, 20 and negative 20. All right, so again, you may recall some of these from previous class periods or previous math classes. All right, but this is something that you will need to know. All right, so for some examples, we're going to determine the positive square root of 81 if it exists. All right, so here we're looking for the positive square root of 81 based on the chart that we just did. The positive square root of 81 is 9. All right, and we know this exists because 9 times 9 gives you 81, or 9 squared is 81. So we have that 9 squared is equal to 81, not the square root of 81, but is equal to 81. All right, now we're going to determine the positive square root of 225 if it exists. All right, so again, the square root of 225 is going to be 15, because we know that 15 squared, which is 15 times 15, is 225. For number 3, it says determine the square root of negative 36 if it exists. All right, so there's a difference between the negative square root of 36 versus the square root of negative 36. So this is what this is saying. It's saying the square root of negative 36. So that does not exist. All right, so having a negative underneath the radical, the square root does not exist. All right, now when you get into Algebra 2 in high school, you'll definitely work with those negative numbers underneath the radical sign. But for Math 8, we do not focus on that. And for number 4, we're going to look at the square root of 49, which is 7. And we know that's because 7 squared gives us 49. So if you notice here, squaring a number and taking the square root undoes. So if I square 9, I get 81. If I take the square root of 81, I get 9. So they're basically inverse operations, like addition and subtractions, inverse operations, multiplication and division are inverse operations. They undo each other. All right, so now we're going to look at some more examples, looking more of like an equation. So we have x squared is equal to 196. So we're going to first solve the equation. So we have x squared equals 196. If I want to know what x is, since x is squared, I can simply take the square root. The square root of x squared is x. The square root of 196 is 13. So I know I kind of did this wrong, but explaining the first step to solving it, you have to take the square root of both sides, and we get that x is equal to 13. All right, same here for number 2. It says a square-shaped park has an area of 324 yards, and this should be squared, not cubed. What are the dimensions of the park? Write and solve an equation. So since we know it's squared, we have x squared is equal to 324. To solve it, we have to take the square root of both sides. So we get that x is equal to 18. And we can double check ourselves by squaring 18. And when we square 18, we get 324. All right. Now let's look at number 3. Number 3 says find the values of x that make the equation true. So this one's a little bit different. So I'm going to rewrite this so it's a little bit more friendlier. So I have x squared is equal to 1 over 256. All right. So again, we're still looking for that x. So we're going to take the square root. We know the square root of x squared is x. We know that the square root of 256 is 16. But since it's 1 over 256, we have 1 over 16. All right, we're going to go ahead and skip number 4. Not exactly sure why that is messed up as it is. We're going to go ahead and skip that. All right, so you have some more practice with that at the end. But now we're going to take a look at the existence of square roots. So we looked at it and we could see that when we take the square root of a perfect square, we get a whole number, we get an integer. Now we're going to look at when we don't have those perfect squares. So when we think about numbers like if we take the square root of 5 or the square root of 6 or the square root of 7 or maybe the square root of 26 or 259, we're going to take a look at that. So that's where we estimate square roots, all right? So what if it's not a perfect square? The square root of a number that is not a perfect square falls between 2 consecutive. So again, remember those terms. 2 consecutive whole numbers. All right, so when we talk about consecutive, those numbers that go right in order. All right, so your first step is to determine whether a number is a perfect square. So when we look at this, it says, is 29 a perfect square? Is there a whole number which can be squared to equal 29? Yes or no? We can look here and tell that that is a no. All right. Step 2 is to find two consecutive whole numbers between which the square root of 29 lies. So when we think about our perfect squares, we can go back to our perfect squares and we think about it. Which two numbers does 29 lie between? So really fast here, I'm going to go ahead and put a quick little number line here. So we have square root of 4. I'm just putting some numbers in. Square root of 9. Square root of 16. Square root of 25. Square root 36. Square root of 49. I'm actually going to extend this out more because I can't forget about 1, because 1 is also a perfect square. All right, so when we look here, and I'll just put one more, square root of 64. So when we look here, we see that the square root of 29 is going to lie somewhere between 25 and 36. So the number is closest to 25, which is the perfect square, less than 29. All right, so we know the square root of 25 is 5. All right. We also have 36 is the closest because it's greater than 29. So we know that the square root of 36 is 6. So what are the two consecutive whole numbers between which 29 lies? We would say 5 and 6. All right. Let's do some more practice with that. All right. So again, looking at based off that number line that we just did on the other slide, we're going to look at between which consecutive whole numbers do each of these square roots lie. All right, so let's take a look here. So again, I'm going to draw out my perfect squares just to help us. So I have the square root of 1, square root of 4, square root of 9, square root of 16, square root of 25, square root of 36, 49, 64, 81, and we'll just stop at 100. All right, so when we're looking at 19, all right, which consecutive whole numbers does it lie between? So we know that the square root of 1 is 1, we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So we can see that 19 is going to fall between 4 and 5 because the square root of 19 falls between the square root of 16 and the square root of 25. 78 we can see is going to fall between 8 and 9 because we know the square root of 64 is 8 and the square root of 9 is 81, and the square root of 78 falls between those two numbers. Square root of 3, we have 1 and 2. Because we know that the square root of 3 falls between the square root of 1 and the square root of 4. 97 is going to be between 9 and 10, because we know that the square root of 97 will fall between the square root of 81 and the square root of 100. 15 is going to fall between 3 and 4, because the square root of 15 falls between 9 and 16. And last but not least, 56 is going to fall between 7 and 8, because 56 falls between 49 and 64. All right, so now I want you to pause the video and I want you to match looking at these examples. So you're given the square root of 83, square root of 60, square root of 2, and square root of 10. All right, so here we can see the square root of 83. We know that 9 squared is going to give us 81. And we know that 100 squared gives us, 10 squared gives us 100. So 83 is going to match up with D. For 7, we know that 7 squared is 49. 8 squared is 64. So we know that 60 is going to match with C. Square root of 1. square root of 4. So we know the square root of 2 is going to lie between the square root of 1 and the square root of 4. And then last but not least, 10 is going to match with B. All right, so now I want you to pause the video and I want you to try this on your own to see if you can find the consecutive numbers between which the numbers lie. All right, so taking a look here, the first one we have the square root of 33, which is going to lie between 5 and 6 because we know that the square root of 25 is 5, or 5 squared is 25, and we know that 6 is going to be 36. All right, how about negative 23? All right, so this is a little tricky, but remember we talked about the negative and the positive number. So when the negative sign is outside of the radical, we can definitely work with that. So we're going to go ahead and see here we have this negative square root of 23. So that's going to fall between negative 4 and negative 5 because we have the negative square root of 16 and the negative square root of 25. We have square root of 48, which is going to fall between 6 and 7. So be careful with that because we have the square root of 36, square root of 49. And last but not least, 8, which is going to give us 3 and 2 because we have the square root of 4 and the square root of 9. All right. Now it is time for you to summarize what you've learned from this lesson. You'll complete the exit ticket, and then you will complete some practice problems on your own. But before that, you're going to summarize what you've learned from today's lesson.